This tells us a lot about the Montreal Canadiens. On the heels of signing Jake Evans to a team-friendly extension, there are a lot of talks about the moves Montreal is likely to make coming up to this trade deadline, big or small. We got to dive into some insiders and their outlook on the Habs trade deadline and just how the Jake Evans extension actually affects Montreal going forward financially. We got to dive into all of that coming up on this episode of Habs Digest. But before we get into the video, you guys love the Evans extension. We love it too. Leave a like for Jake Evans down below. Leave a like. We all love that Jakey's going to be here. I want him to retire in a Habs jersey. And look, we're going to keep talking about him, Jesse. Now, again, we did a video earlier breaking down the extension and all the things to do with it. So feel free to check that out if you haven't seen it already. It is a $2.85 million by 4-year contract, but we're not here to give you all the details again because we already did that. You guys probably know it. I want to give a little bit of a deeper dive into the Habs contract situation, Jesse. And first of all, this tells us a lot about Montreal because of how much of a team-friendly deal this is, and that is an incredible theme with this team. Looking at the contracts that were signed by Kent Hughes, everything is looking like it's going to be incredibly team-friendly, especially with the cap going up $25-30 million in the coming seasons. Suzuki, Caufield, even Slafkovsky, and now a guy like Jake Evans is making less than Alex Newhook for the next couple of years. These kind of contracts is what it means to be a team player, and it really shows us how the culture in Montreal is growing with all of these guys.
And it's really because of the structure that was placed by Kent Hughes. That was kind of part of the reason of maybe this deal not coming to fruition, because Kent, he loves Jake Evans just like we all do, but he knows what's best for this team. So he kind of needed to draw that line in the sand. We saw that everybody's kind of falling in line under Suzuki. Obviously, Line A's a little bit of an outliner. I think something we still needed and that the Habs fans are still okay with. Like, as a whole, we got some big contracts coming off the books this summer here. Still not, Price's contract still is there. Still kind of is the elephant in the room for lack of a better term. But Kent Hughes is starting to have a lot more flexibility. Like, even just a couple of these moves coming off like Armia, Dvorak, etc. this summer mean a lot for Kent Hughes really going after this team and really shaping it in the vision that he's really looking for. But you really have to feel like, again, this Evans trade, like him taking that team-friendly deal, it helps put Kent Hughes into a position of strength when you're going to get your 2C, because you got some leverage where the other GM is knowing, okay, basically this guy isn't having to start from scratch from Nick Suzuki and just everybody else is going to be either a rookie or somebody you're kind of bringing in. So this trade is big for multiple reasons.
Absolutely. There's so many implications we could talk about, but a big thing here is, again, the financial flexibility. If we had signed Evans to what some people were saying, around $4 million a year, $4.5 million, doesn't seem like that big a difference, but it really is when you're looking at all the guys you got to pay in the coming years. Again, like you mentioned, we got Dvorak and Armia coming off the books. That's going to be about $7.75 million. Plus we have Savard coming off at 3.5. So we're talking like $11 million coming off the books. But as you can see here, Guhle's extension's kicking in, which is going to be an absolute steal as well. He's already playing like a $6-7 million defenseman, and he's making 5.5 until 2031. But then you also got Slav's contract kicking in next year. Those two contracts add up to about $13 million. So the fact that you can bring Evans back at just about a $1 million increase with those UFAs coming off the board, with Slav and Guhle coming in, you're in about the same cap position, not to mention you're 1 year closer to Gallagher and Anderson's contract finishing. Again, you're only 1 year away after this year Price is finishing. We could go into this for hours and hours, but just wanted to show you how this tells us a lot about how these Habs boys believe in each other, how much they want to be here, and how much they desire to win. It's so great. But Jesse, we got to talk about the deadline now, because there's a lot of talks coming out about the deadline. First thing I want to show, because look, we're not done. There's more stuff coming, I'm sure. Malcolm Baudouin said, look, probably don't take the day off work Friday, assuming the Habs are going to make a lot of big trades. But he said it seems like it might just be calm. But calm is in the eye of the beholder, because maybe Montreal, they're going to find it difficult to go out and get like a 2C like a lot of us are saying, Jesse. But there are some moves that Montreal very well could do, as they've made it clear now they want to make this push to try and win. And even small adding moves can make a big difference. And we'll dive into exactly what Eric Engel said in this article that I'll link down below. Look, he even says the Habs, if they find a stalwart defender that can fit the description, or maybe a second line center who falls into his lap, Kent could do it. But Jesse, I'm still thinking there could be some big things that come at this deadline. Maybe not the biggest names in the world, but moves that will definitely improve the Habs' long-term outlook.
Yeah, I don't know why this message is really making me feel the opposite, that there is going to be a lot of movement just for whatever reason. Kind of my intuition about it. What's really funny is I still feel that Armia is going to be that trade to fall. I feel he will be a casualty of the Jake Evans extension. We still want to get a little bit more financial flexibility kind of going forward. We are one of the most highly paid teams still in the NHL, and to be where we're at in the standings, to have that much on the books is something that Kent Hughes knows he needs to rectify. There's a reason that he's had a structure in place. It's not that he wants to be, that strict guy. It's obviously what this team really needs, but it's speaking that they really want to kind of fall in line with that. And that started with Nick Suzuki from the leadership. But again, Evans taking a very team-friendly deal. Like, this is what you need to do if you want to really compete and win. And Evans is feeling like he bet on a winner right now. He's saying, what is this Montreal Canadiens team going to be capable of over this next 4 years? What can they really do, especially if I'm kind of doing something to maybe help them where they can add in some other places? Jake Evans is showing by this deal that he cares more about winning than anything else.
And I think that's what Kent Hughes and the Habs, everyone on the Habs team has been clearly indicating, right? And winning matters. So which is why, like, as much as this could be a quiet deadline, it could not be a quiet deadline. As Eric Engels says, look, long-term needs aren't typically filled at the deadline. It's a big stretch won't be filled by Friday's deadline because, again, making that money work for these big kind of deals. Look, there's names like we've heard Cousins, Zegras, whatever. We're not going to talk about them. Though I have heard Rossi's name getting floated around a bit more. He's having an incredible year. I don't think he's actually going to get moved. We'll have to wait and see. He's small.
Like
he's small. The Habs don't need another small guy, but his numbers are good. Meh. But we're not going to dive into that right now. What I want to focus on is a couple things that Eric Engels mentioned. And I think you're bang on, Jesse, about Yoel Armia. We might actually have another video discussing him, as a Winnipeg Jets insider did say that the Jets are very much interested in Armia. And even Pierre LeBrun said the same thing. They're kind of linked there. But regardless, I think Armia is that guy to fall. But potential targets for Montreal, ignoring the second line center because that's probably going to get done in the offseason, talking about a legit NHL prospect / AHL depth is the big thing for me, because they mentioned, or Eric Engels mentions, Emil Heineman, right? In that Tyler Toffoli trade, he was, I guess, more than a throw-in. He was like an NHL level prospect, but a lower tier one. And he has turned into an incredible fourth line player for us right now, maybe with a bit higher upside going forward, especially with his shot. That kind of thing in any kind of Armia trade, if we do decide to trade Armia and bring in someone, aiming for that type of prospect to me makes a lot of sense, because not only did Heineman have a big impact in the AHL when he went there before making the big team, it would be a good outlook for the future, another guy who could very much help the team in a year or two, but also help their AHL team right now, as Owen Beck's probably going to have to spend the rest of the year with Montreal. I think that's what we should be looking for, Jesse. As much as it's not a big splash, it's something that could, again, incrementally improve Montreal in the long term.
And we need to remember, though, that even though like Kent Hughes was able to finagle Heineman to kind of in that deal, this was somebody who he had his eye on all along. And this is really looking good for Kent Hughes. Like he specified on the type of player. Again, just a W for him where he can kind of get a little bit more into this trade. And it's a little bit on Kent Hughes. Like he's taken a lot of heat at moments this year, Josh, for wanting to be in the mix, for kind of applying a little bit of pressure on this team to be better. He did that, and he got a little bit of flack at certain times. And how good, again, is he looking in this situation where right at a crucial times of the season, this young team is learning to win and play meaningful games, which, again, when we're talking about the rebuild, is the most important thing. He set his goal, the vision of what he wanted this team to do. They're doing it. It's about finishing off right now. This team isn't happy just kind of being in the mix. They want to secure that position kind of going forward. But you really have to feel like, again, those big moves going to come in the offseason. Very excited, but you have to feel we're going to do something to help Laval right now in the meantime. And I mean, probably a little bit of tidy house cleaning with Armia there as well.
Absolutely. And hey, something else just popped into my mind before the video ends. Like, we still have a retention spot, and we saw New Jersey retain on a deal today just to get a decent prospect. One of the co-captains of Boston University having a solid year. New Jersey got him for facilitating the Edmonton and the Trent Frederick trade, and Frederick's a pending UFA. So it's like things like that can still happen for Montreal. Small little things to just get things for nothing, basically, to use the assets you have available, to not lose things for nothing. There's a bunch of things Kent Hughes could do, but let us know your thoughts down below. What do you think's going on at this deadline? Could it be Armia? Could it be AHL depth? Could it be retaining for someone else? There's a lot of options. We'd love to hear from you, but that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Thank you all for watching. There's a lot more stuff coming in the next few days, and I hope you stick around for it. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.